And now we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about policy, systems, and environmental change. We've heard that these things can help shape school wellness, and I have invited somebody who is a fantastic school food hero, an incredible friend of mine. It is the director of Orchid. It is Bethany Marquis, Chef B, as you guys know. She's going to join me up on stage, and we're gonna take you through a little bit about school food legislation and hopefully give you a little inspiration as we do that. How's that sound? Yeah, last year we did this fun thing where we had a really engaging talk, and somebody said that we should get on a podcast, and it resulted in this presentation. So now I get to switch gears a little bit, and Bethany and I get to talk to you a little bit about school food legislation and inspiration. We've talked a little bit about this already today, and we're going to get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty around what the heck is school food legislation? Does this actually shape what we do?
Absolutely.
How?
You know, they tell us what to do and we have to do it.
That's good. These are two of the people that we tell here, if my clicker will work. There we go. Look, those are our pretty faces. We're so great. We can just skip on to the next one. So what we really wanted to talk to everybody about first is this new bill that's called SB 348. Has anybody heard of this? CDE, you can't raise your hand.
Exactly.
Just looking over there, Crystal. Some of us have heard of it. So talk to us a little bit about what you know about SB 348. What does this mean, and how is it going to shape what we do in school food? And if you need this, that's for you. Okay, well, we know.
So, I mean, basically, you know, everybody knows there's a lot of rules in child nutrition. And, you know, I think from the inception of them, they're very good. I mean, they have a good purpose. And you know, if you can design your program on it, it is possible. That's kind of my little motto. It's possible.
It is possible.
But it's a lot with, you know, salt and sugar and the nutrition that's in our food and how we can control that over the masses. And like Devinder was talking about, it's fine if you're cooking for like 50 people, but then when you're cooking for like 50,000, it gets really hard. So, you know, going through this and making it work on a scalable level. On this.
In addition to nutrients, I got mics, I got all the things. But in addition to nutrients, Bethany, which we've talked about SB 348 looking at lowering sugar in addition to sodium, this bill also talks about time to eat, which we've heard about already today. Why is that so important for a school nutrition program?
Yeah, and I mean, I see this in my schools, and, you know, we try to do recess before they eat as much as we can. But, you know, even in my junior highs, they have like a 9-minute nutrition break, which is their breakfast, you know, and there's 600 children running, you know, to the windows, and they're supposed to socialize, which is super important, especially after COVID, you know, and they stand and eat, you know, and a lot of them will put their fruit and vegetables in the share box because they just don't take time to eat them.
So this bill really is designed to not only help us with the increase of consumption and nutrition, but also with time to eat and ensuring kids have enough time to do those things. I somehow got involved in advocacy around this bill, and San Luis Coastal went to Sacramento and talked about this because what we were really finding was that while this incredible legislation was happening, a lot of the people maybe didn't understand what the impact was in school food and really what was possible. So we went up to Sacramento to be a lead witness on SB 348, bring a little bit of real school food. Pictured up here are some real things that we serve. I do want to call out that the Gusto magazine there was 100% an inspiration from this conference, seeing what, was it Goleta who did the magazine? Yeah, beautiful, and call out to loving what you do and replicating. This is how we all get to do things that are better, right? Who saw something Devinder did and is now like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to do that too, right? This is how we get inspired by one another. So we went to advocate for this, and Bethany, do you want to talk a little bit about what reducing sugar in school meals is and why we would care about that, or what the impact might be to our programs? Can we really do that?
We can really do it. You know, and you learn how to build flavors around your menus. And as we all know, and the first morning presentation was a lot about obesity and diabetes in students and how it's just increasing. And taking that sugar out of our food products, but adding spices, fresh herbs, you know, natural oils, instead of just the sugar and the salt that, you know, we've become accustomed to. And it's not that difficult. I mean, you'll see I have a presentation that where we put a flavor station at a high school, and we just give them like ginger, chili powder, granulated garlic. It doesn't include, sugar and salt and fat, but it lets them, visit their culture, spice up their food. So there's ways to do it. And when you start, just start like with one little thing, like the vendor, just one thing, and then that's it. Even if you put chili powder out there, or just ginger, and they start there, and then it's amazing. I was like, oh, we're out of spices? Oh, snap. So, and they like them. It's
And it
good.
adds to that customability, right? We heard earlier how much students want to be a part of their program. So to offer things like a custom station or a flavor enhancer really makes it feel like it's more of their program while still following the guidelines that we are so accustomed to. Let's talk about breakfast, because this has been a big one where breakfast has been tough. A lot of the things that are out in the market aren't necessarily lower in sugar. They may be reformulated to be whole grain, but they may not meet some of the standards, especially that we're proposing in some of this new legislation. So how do we navigate a system in which supplies may not exist, let alone be able to get?
Yeah, it's very true. We went into COVID, and then we had a lot of cereals coming out of COVID that were high in sugar. And it was what I could order. It was just what was there and available. And it was great. We did a parent survey, and we went out, and they were, very, very responsive. And please get these sugary cereals out of school. And so we said, okay. And we do things like we do a bean and cheese burrito for breakfast, which sounds a little weird, but they like it. I mean, they're used to eating spice. They eat Takis, and we don't want them to. So it's been really actually very well received.
And let's talk about local vendors, because we've worked with, Bethany and I have both worked with vendors such as Edna's Bakery to come up with a reformulated low sugar muffin. That's what's pictured on the screen here. When we went to this vendor and asked for this request, we thought we had to come up with a lot of like sneaky ways, and you could do this or you could do that. They just took out granulated sugar. So sometimes it's not that difficult, but it really does take that ask. I'm really excited to point out to you all that on your table, you have something that, gosh, it's round and there's sprinkles. What would you think that's called, Bethany?
A cookie.
You would think it's a cookie, but would you believe me if I told you that this was a round object with confetti sprinkles that was whole grain, that was low sugar, and delicious, and kids love it? Would you still call it a cookie?
No.
What would you call it?
How about a breakfast biscuit?
A breakfast biscuit. I love that, Bethany. That's so great. And you guys have that on your table because in this room right now, we have Tracy with the Brown Butter Cookie Company. Wave it to everybody, Tracy. And this local vendor has worked with school food to come up with a compliant product that tastes great, that's made locally, that meets all of our standards and regulations, but has this lower sugar standard. We found that by using extracts, there's a strawberry extract and a cookie dough type extract, we could add flavor without adding additional sugar. So another example of how we can use flavor, herbs, spices, extracts, to come up with something that tastes really great, that is familiar to students, but we can feel really good about serving. So I do encourage you all to check out the information about this product, taste the product, and if you'd like more information, we've got Tracy here in the back. And thank you so much for bringing the product for us today to taste. How have these kinds of products been received at your school district?
Yeah, we took a little bit of a different approach with this, and I serve a drumstick, like a breaded drumstick. And in the past, we had a waffle with it. Now we have a whole grain biscuit, which I'd love to give them honey butter with, but I'm not going to do that. So we took the biscuit away, and we're going to serve it with this, kind of like a play on chicken and waffles. And I mean, it's fantastic. And it's just the color, just the whole, like, keep the boring out.
And talk
So,
about creating excitement. When you're
Yeah.
doing these really fun events, when you're bringing in some different materials, a banner, balloons, you have something with sprinkles and fun, you're in for a great time. Creating that excitement for students, I think, is really key. Let's talk a little bit about funding, because a lot of times we're asked, well, that's nice, but how do you afford all of those things? How do you afford a new Wolfie? How do you afford fresh products? What does that look like? And so Bethany and I are going to talk a little bit about how successful school meals really are not one single answer. It really is a combination of things. You've heard that today around partnerships, relationships, collaboration. But talk to us a little bit about how this intersection between free school meals for all, the kit funding we've heard about, and farm to school. What is this magic mix and how do you do this at your district?
Yeah, I mean, like Devinder said, we apply for all the grants that are out there. And I'm not a grant writer. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I'm a chef in a kitchen who used to throw pots. I don't do that anymore, just so you know. But I'm not that person, but I learned, right? And you make a couple mistakes and then you figure it out. And, we got quite a lot of money with the kit funds and some different grants that we've gotten. And, we've put like some of the grant money just like to bring in like the fresh pasta and the biscuit. And then we have some other money that brings in a lot of equipment because we're serving a lot more kids. And we're looking at not as cute of a baby Wolfie, but it's baby Wolfie's big brother. And again, you just sort of like, it's hard because you go, well, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do that. And it gets a little bit like, what's the most important thing first? But just pick one and go, and try to keep it. So, like, I keep a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. On the grants because the business department's like, you don't have to do that. It's all in the program. And I'm like, oh, no, I have to do that because I don't, I won't know. So it really matters. And like, I just have it on my little desk and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's for pasta. That's for my truck. That's for my fridges. And yeah, you just kind of organize yourself and just, pick a thing and make it happen.
Pick a thing and make it happen. I love that. I love that you really can enter with where you're at. And I think we've heard a lot about that today as well, that this isn't meant to be take everything in this giant bite of an elephant at one time. It's breaking it down, making it small, manageable, incremental changes, and then over time, you really create this fantastic program. I've really seen the kit funding to be a bridge between universal free meals and farm to school. The funding there is really designed for operators to pick and choose what makes sense to us. Similar to that template language with wellness policy, there's great ideas, right? A baby Wolfie is a great idea, but if that's not what your district needs, don't copy and paste that template. Think about what your district needs and what would be really beneficial to you and to your staff. Another big part with the kitchen infrastructure training is that it's not just equipment, right? Yes, you can get a baby Wolfie. Yes, you can get a new freezer. But you can also train staff. So let's talk a little bit about staff training. Have you used any kit funds to do staff training?
Yes. In fact, we brought our staff in 3 days early, and we did 3 days of training that we used some kit funds to pay them. And we did knife skills. We did, back to like POS skills, because we got a lot of new employees after COVID. And, we did a regulations table, and then we all have to do like a civil rights thing. So we had a civil rights table where they could kind of do it together. And it was time. Like the one thing you don't have with employees is they'll leave. A lot of my employees will leave the last day of school, and then you don't see them until like the day of or the day before school. And it's so difficult. So much changes. So we're now going to do that like every year.
I love that. What a great idea. We took a similar approach at San Luis Coastal. We really wanted to invest in some staff training. And when we talked to staff about what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? Similarly to how we asked students, our staff really came back and said, we want professional culinary training. And I thought, wow, well, where do we do that? And there's this little place up in Napa. You might have heard of it. It's called the Culinary Institute of America. There's one up in Napa at Copia. There's, of course, other locations as well. And we took our team here for a 2-day hands-on culinary training in their state-of-the-art Heston kitchens. We worked alongside chefs. We created the menu together. So we rooted things in school food. We had day one rooted in knife skills and mise en place and how do you do that? What does that look like? Rooted in some inspiration around what we could do and sort of what's possible, that future lens. And then day two, we really buckled down and went deep into school food. Here are some recipes that we want to make that will be on our menu in the fall. And things that came out of that were a pozole as well. I'm hearing that going on today. Sounds like you're going to get recipes for pozole after this conference. There was also a local quinoa side salad. Many of my staff had never cooked with quinoa before. So it's not only an education exercise for our students, but oftentimes for our staff as well. I can tell you that at the end of these 2 days, staff felt pretty important. I think you can really take that away from our next slide here, which we were in the museum and took this picture with our team. So another example of how you can use KIT funding to really elevate your school meal program and not only invest in students, but invest in our people. I also love what Devinder talked about of growing his team. Growing that team from 14 to 60, over 60, that's incredible. And this is what investing in school food can really be about. We're a little bit smaller, but have similar stories of going from a team of 20 to now over a team of 40 by investing in people and showcasing what we can do by using some of these funds.
There's also a company, if you can't, travel to Napa, which we all wish we could, called Brigade, and they will come to your school and help. They have a very structured program and he's one of the most famous former chefs in the world from Copenhagen. And
Amazing.
He just decided to cook for school children. So
I think you can also network in this room. And I got to be honest, there may not be as much flair on this vest, but if you talk to another director about doing a spotlight or a guest chef switch, I guarantee you there's a lot of interest in that in this room. Look, right now we've got somebody ready to go. So it doesn't always mean the Culinary Institute or something very high-end. It could always mean something within your own county or state or region. So another great way to network with each other today. Let's talk a little bit about this local food for schools, because we've heard a lot of talk about there's more funding available, how much funding, what do I have to do, what do I buy? Talk more about this type of funding and how this relates to more things we can do within our program.
Right. Again, if you get the grant and you get this money, it's make it simple. We found in Santa Maria, a local company that picks strawberries and they flash freeze them. And so now we just go there and we allot these funds and we buy it from them. We have to go and pick it up, but then we make all our parfaits and smoothies with it. And it's easy. You just pick that one thing. It's Titan, so it's Titan strawberries in Santa Maria. They're fantastic. And so that's a local, and you think about it, a lot of the children in my district, probably are very directly involved in that whole process. So it's they're just that's my family. So it's just really cool.
It means something deeper.
It means.
And there's a significant amount of funding here, friends. We're talking over $23 million to CDE it's based on, the way that we allocate it is based on student enrollment and your annual programming earnings. You can opt in or out of this funding, and it's just meant to be spent on unprocessed or minimally processed local regional foods. So things we've shared with you today, right, things we're sharing with you would also count. We really just want to make sure that you know that these are funds that are available to us and we should be accessing them. These are funds that are intended for us to amplify our programs, to meet more farmers, more ranchers, more food businesses that can really elevate our school meal programs. And we want to make sure that districts know that this is meant to empower us. This isn't meant to make our lives more difficult. This is meant to really help us purchase more things for a better school meal program. Let's talk about some more of those vendors, because we've done a lot in SLO County with local vendors. How do we get started with making some of these connections? We've heard relationships, we've heard having communication, but if you don't know, how do you start?
Right. I think networking is really important. I mean, I didn't know about the cookie, and Erin talked to me about it. I didn't know about the strawberries, but we reached out to some of the farmers, and they connected us, with strawberries. And it's really there's a lot of knowledge just in this room. I know Laurel up at Lucia Mar, she has a vast amount of knowledge. So just start asking questions.
So a couple of the vendors that are here in this room, we mentioned Tracy earlier with Brown Butter. We're so excited to have you here. I also want to highlight Brian and Rob with Edo Pasta. They were generous enough to leave you all with a sample of a whole grain pasta that they make in Paso Robles. And you can bring that home to your district, see what kids like. We actually use this with mac and cheese. So we find that this is a great shells and cheese that kids love. They also make a variety of other types of shapes. We partnered with another local business, Szechuan Kitchen. That person created a recipe for school food. It was a dan dan noodle using a longer noodle that they make as well. So a lot of different applications by utilizing local vendors and partnering. So I wanted to make sure that we called them out. Also, Taco Works chips, they were not able to come in person today, but when we go out for lunch, you'll be able to get to try their Montana de Oro 2-ounce individually wrapped bag of chips that are school food compliant. And Edna's Bakery has been a longtime supporter of the summit. We talked a little bit about their low sugar muffin and some of the other products that they're reformulating for schools. And what we really want people to take away is that it really doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, another part of this beautiful state. There is something local where you are. So asking those questions, going to the farmer's market, finding the things that you like, turning that olive oil bottle around and saying, where did this come from? How did it get here? And is there a way for me to partner with these local farms and food businesses? We've also learned that as food service directors, we're doing things in very large scale. So when we go to a small business, we can be a really strong wholesale partner. When we come asking for 55-gallon drums of olive oil, think about that. For a small olive oil producer, what that would mean to sell their product in large containers for our program. That helps us get a better price on that product. That helps kids get a better quality product, something that tastes even better. And olive oil isn't even the end of it. We can think of other things like honey. There's a ton of other examples. So we really want to inspire you to work with some of your local purveyors or people who don't even know they want to get into schools and talk them into what a great outcome it can be for not just your program, but for our entire community. We're getting close to lunch, Bethany. I think we should talk about food.
I love talking
All
about
right,
food.
let's get into it. So these people came here to find out what we're doing in schools. You want to start?
You start.
You start. You talk about what you're
Okay,
doing.
let's
All
do
right.
it. Okay, so there's the pasta. And I actually ended up taking pasta completely off my menu because the product that I was getting, no matter what you did, it just turned to mush, and kids are very much about texture. So this pasta, it's fantastic. So we cook it the day before, like very al dente, and then we make our sauce the next day because participation went up so much that I'm actually out of brazier room. That's
Get
reality.
fun.
That's reality. And so then we have, out of this one product, we make pasta marinara, and then we make a mac and cheese, and then when it gets a little colder, we're just gonna make a super simple chicken soup, with the pasta chicken and then maybe just carrots. Like kids like things simple. Chicken soup, but it's really gonna be chicken and noodles and yumminess. Um, and it's just kind of like, again, pick one thing and start. And we make smoothies and parfaits every day. Those are the local strawberries that we do. And, that's one person just kind of making like 90 of them. And, kind of moving forward and we do a salad for the junior highs and high schools. That's like a spicy chicken salad. And you can take your spicy chicken, breaded breast that is already done, and you put it on a salad, and it becomes obviously not that hard right away.
Yeah. Here's your salad production.
Yes,
Look at you.
that's a
So
lot of salad.
fancy.
Yeah, and we make our little spice
And
mix.
your messages. I love that you have these
Yeah.
positive messages for kids. You're really connecting that social emotional with nutrition ed. Like here we are. It's in the lunchroom. You've got some posters up, some stickers. I bet kids just feel really good eating these things.
They do, and one thing that keep in mind is, we did the stickers for we have preschool all the way to high school. So we did them with the little kids, and then I had a wild hair, kind of like the vendor, and I put them on the high school salads, and they freaked
Loved
out.
it.
I mean, they were like 5 years old, and they were running around, like showing their friends, and then everybody wanted the salad, and it was just so cute. Like, we have to remember they're still kids. It was pretty sweet.
And tell us about spices, because you've talked about flavor and these flavor stations, but you're also making your own house spice blends. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, as a chef and not a dietitian, at least I have the gift of really understanding the flavors of food and how you have to reach for things that aren't salt and sugar. So that's like a picture of we make a homemade pozole, and just like taking out some of the like the seasoning, the packaged seasoning, and then trying to make your own. And it's trial and error, like you make it and you go, wow, that tastes a lot like human, and maybe nothing else. And that's okay. You just kind of develop. And I'm willing to share any recipe, nothing's secret. I mean, we're here to feed kids, um, and it's significantly cheaper, and you can kind of control, what goes in there. And it gave us more money to buy like a very high quality chicken to put in the pozole, instead of what we had to buy 5 or 8 years ago. So
That's a huge win.
yeah.
Saves money, tastes better, kids love it. Why aren't we all doing this?
Call me.
Here are some of the highlights at San Luis Coastal. This picture is one of my favorites. This just happened with a TKer who just had a face full of melon and got that picture at the right moment. I just think that is the beauty of Farm to School. That is the beauty of what we have the power to do each and every day, is to have an experience like that with every single one of our students. The first time you taste the ripest melon, the freshest of the season, you're in heaven. Like, I think about this picture when I eat that, and I'm like, oh, yes, I feel it. I feel this deliciousness. This is it, you can just feel the love in that bite. Partnering local, partnering with local ranchers. I think that's so smart to do better quality chicken, but controlling your cost on your spice mix and controlling your nutrients. It's brilliant. We did something similar with a teriyaki beef short rib where we partnered with Hearst Ranch. We had this great quality product, paired that with some brown rice. Kids went nuts. They love this. This idea of restaurant quality at schools is not foreign anymore. Kids today are going out a lot more than in the past. They have an expectation of the quality of food on their plate, the environment in which it takes place, and we as school food operators can really play a huge role in that experience for kids, not just once, not just twice, but in many cases, 3 times a day with breakfast, lunch, and supper programs. Red lentil dal. This was another dish. I love the talk that we're having around culture. Having students experience a different flavor, a different dish, something they've never tried before. We tried dal on the menu for the first time, but paired it with a book, Bilal Cooks Dal. And it's a whole process about dal takes time, right? And he teaches his friends about the process of cooking dal. By partnering and pairing with nutrition education, we were able to impact the participation of this dish immensely. We ran this in a summer culinary program, and then we had it on the summer menu. And we had children telling us that this is the best school food dish they have ever had. Now, I want to say it's because of the quality of the ingredients. They're local organic red lentils, and I'm sure that's a piece of it, but it's because they learned about it. They learned about it, they read about it, their peers tasted it, they did a taste test in their class, a small, safe environment, and then they saw it in the lunchroom and knew what they were about to experience. So that taste testing is so incredibly important. And we've heard about growing food too. It's not just where it comes from, but seeing it, tasting it, touching it, whether it's in the school garden, a hydroponic tower. There's totally different ways to showcase kids, where food comes from and how things grow. One last slide I've got on just food, just to show you how fun this can really be. We've talked too much about the Thai basil lentil burger, but black bean and sweet potato chimichurri bowl. You can hear that when we're talking about food, yes, Bethany's a chef, I'm not classically trained, but I know that if we use a taste-forward label, everybody's going to want to eat that. And we did this very intentionally before lunch. You're welcome. We want you guys to be ready, right? We're talking flavor, chimichurri, Thai basil. These are things that students want to know about, and it really sets the tone for what's about to happen. So when you use those flavor forward or those taste forward labels in what you're describing, I think students are really excited about what that is or what they're about to taste. Tell me about dressing, because I think you've done a lot on the sauces and dressings front, and I think that's a really easy entry point for people when they're thinking about, how do I get started in scratch food? I don't know if I'm ready to make my own mac and cheese from scratch. How do I get started? Tell us about some easy ways that we might be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things we did, and we only did, was we made ranch dressing. That was it. And just, brought it back down and used the low-fat milk products and low-fat buttermilk. And then, made it for 2 schools, and then tasted it, obviously, with kids, because they like things packaged. So that's one of the things that you have to kind of, educate them about. So we had signs up, about ranch dressing, and then we brought it to all the schools. And then we made an Italian vinaigrette dressing. Again, very simple, very easy, and brought it out again, to different sites. And now, we just make it, and it
I love it.
comes in the door, goes out the door.
And it's just the new norm.
It is.
Speaking of new norms, what if school food was designed to adequately nourish children with real, fresh, delicious food? That's really the question that we want you to leave with today. And Betsy, that's my daughter who gets to be up in our slides today too. Got to plug all of that. But that's really what we're talking about. So today, Bethany, tell us what our amazing fans get to enjoy with their lunch.
Woo! Okay, so we brought Edo pasta, and we gave it to the chef in the kitchen, and he's making a vegan pasta, vinaigrette based. And I brought my salsa recipe, very simple, with the Taco Works that we're going to display at lunch. And then Miss Erin, I'm really excited about this. She made a chocolate hummus that looks so good. It looks super smooth with some fresh strawberries.
Yay! So that is it from us. But before we get into lunch, we just wanted to show you one thing real quick. And I don't actually know how to play the video, so I'm going to have you play the video for me. But this was a video put together by Brown Butter Cookie Company about their process. It's very quick, and we'll show you right before we get into lunch. Again to Tracy and the Brown Butter Cookie Company for our samples, to Brian and Rob with Edo Pasta, to Chef B, just an amazing colleague and partner in crime. I appreciate you so very much. We are now ready to enjoy lunch.